the Bookshare webinar, Empower Learning and Save Time with an Individual Membership. My name is Laura Romberg, and I work with the Global Literacy team at Bookshare, and I'm joined by my colleague Heather Collins, who will be answering your questions throughout the webinar. What we're going to do is give kind of a basic Bookshare overview, and then go into more information about individual memberships, how you get them, and why they're important. I hope everyone can hear me okay. If you're having any trouble with the audio, please let us know. And just a reminder to enter your questions into the Q&A box. It's at the bottom, I believe on the right-hand side. That just makes it easier for us to see your questions as they come in and to answer them. You will receive a copy of the webinar recording in just a few days. So if for any reason you get kicked off, or if you have another meeting to attend, and we all have lots of meetings these days, you will still be able to view the webinar. All right, so we're going to go and get started. Today we're going to go over what Bookshare is and who is eligible, describe the benefits of an individual membership, and describe the ways you can give your students an individual membership, or if you're a parent, how to get one for your child. So Bookshare is an ebook library that makes reading easier. So people with reading barriers such as dyslexia, visual impairment, or physical disability can read in ways that work for them. With Bookshare, all of the books can be downloaded in or read in audio format. You can see the text and hear the book being read out loud at the same time. Sometimes someone might just need a book with larger print. All of our reading tools enable the book to be read at a much larger font. And the books can also be downloaded in Braille files for either refreshable Braille display devices, or if you have a Braille embosser, you can download it that way as well. Plus, all the books can be downloaded as just a standard Word document. Oops. We have over 950,000 titles, and we add a couple thousand titles each month thanks to our great partnerships with publishers. And our collection includes textbooks, books for other assigned and pleasure reading, New York Times bestseller, all the Library Association award winners, the Caldecott award winners. It's a very vast collection, also major newspapers from every city, a large selection of periodicals, books for upskilling, how-to books for people advancing in their careers or to learn a new skill, driver's license manuals for every state. It's a very wide collection. And again, our numbers increase every month. Best of all, Bookshare is free for qualified U.S. students of any age. That's pre-K, post-secondary, adult education. And we're going to get into who qualifies. And for adults who qualify but are no longer students, it's just $50 a year for unlimited access. That's 24/7 access, unlike some of the ebook services from public libraries where you're limited to how long you can check out a book or how many copies of that title are available. With Bookshare, it's completely unlimited. 5,000 people could be reading the same book at the same time. And once you read that book, you have access to it forever. There's also a lot of different devices to read Bookshare books on. You can read the books on computers and Chromebooks, PCs, Macs, Chromebooks. We offer what we call our Bookshare web reader, which is just a basic reader. The book opens up in the browser, and you have the highlighted synchronized text-to-speech, as well as the option for increasing the font and changing other settings. There's also a program called CaptiVoice that you can use on a computer and Chromebook. And as I mentioned, all the books can be downloaded as a Microsoft Word document. Now, just with that Word document, you're not going to get the audio, but for users that have screen readers, they can use that in conjunction with that. Or for users that maybe just need a larger type, they can just download it as a Word document and increase the font as you would with any other Word document. There's also great apps for iPads and iPhones and also Android devices. Dolphin Easy Reader is a free app that works, synchronizes with Bookshare, and you read all your books right in the app on your phone or tablet. There's also Capti Voice, which offers a free or a premium version of the reading tool for mobile devices, and Voice Dream Reader. And we're finding that our members really enjoy using the mobile apps because it's so easy. You have all your books on your phone or your tablet. So Bookshare operates under copyright law, not special education law. And the copyright law says that an eligible person is one who is blind or has a visual impairment or perceptual or reading disability, or a physical disability that renders them unable to read printed works to substantially the same degree as a person without such impairment or disability. And this language is straight verbatim from the law. It does not go into specifics about what degree of visual impairment one needs to have. There's no diagnoses named. It's just if it's a visual, a perceptual, or reading disability, such as dyslexia, but does not need to have that diagnosis, or a physical disability such as cerebral palsy, where someone couldn't hold the book and turn the pages or focus their eyes on it. That's what enables a person to qualify for Bookshare. And the law states that a competent professional can make that determination. So the competent professional, that can be the educators, the special educators, a school psychologist, an optometrist, ophthalmologist, a literacy tutor, anyone with professional expertise that has either evaluated the student or has read an evaluation done of the student that says an accommodation such as text-to-speech or audiobooks would be beneficial and would help them read and read at grade level. That's what qualifies for Bookshare. So we leave that determination up to you, the educators, or parents. If your child has been evaluated by a professional, they're the ones that sign off on it and gets the student the Bookshare membership. For people who have Learning Ally memberships, another audio book service, or a member of the National Library Service, that also that's reciprocal qualifications for Bookshare, and that can be used if you do need to provide any kind of proof of disability. So again, it's pretty, it's not very specific. It's just limited to these types of conditions. A student does not need to have an IEP or a 504 plan. Many of our members do. It is not required for Bookshare because, again, we don't operate under special ed law. But if a student, say, does have an IEP and there's something listed in there as a need for a reading accommodation, that would qualify them. That would be your hint that they qualify for Bookshare. Just because a student has an IEP or 504 does not mean that they qualify, because it has to be documented that there's a reading barrier, that an accommodation would help improve their reading skills. So Bookshare offers two main account types, what we call our organizational account. That is created at a school or some kind of community education center. We refer to the educators, we call them sponsors in our system, and students are called members. So the educators, they create the account, they add their students who qualify, and they assign books to them. The student then logs in, finds the books that have been assigned to them, and reads their books, but they can only read the books that the teachers, their educators, have assigned to them. The individual account, which is also free for students, the student or a parent, if the student is under 18, they complete the sign-up process and submit the proof of disability form on behalf of the student. If the student is already on a school account, the parent does not need to provide any further proof of disability. But if they're not on the school account, they would, and it's a form that we provide. And then the student logs in and they can search for any book of their choice. They can read from the full Bookshare collection. If they're under 18, they are restricted to books that are not do not have any type of adult content in there. So there is that safety measure, but they can look for books of their choosing, not just what their teachers have assigned to them. So in a little bit, we'll go over why that's important. So a student can have both types of account. If they're already on the school account, the teacher or the parent can initiate the individual membership for the students. And again, they do not need to provide any further proof of disability. The student logs in, finds the books, and they can see their assigned books from the teacher, and they can search for books of their choice. Students who have their own individual membership that's not tied to a school can have that account linked to the school account if there is one for their school. And then the teacher can assign books that way as well. So individual memberships are a great option for students and for teachers. As I mentioned, they can download any book from the full Bookshare collection. They can find books on subjects that they're learning about in the classroom. They want, a different book than what they've been assigned. They can read on topics to help fill in the learning gaps. During the pandemic, students are losing out on a lot of non-classroom based experiences, learning experience, the field trips to the museums to look at the dinosaurs, the guest speakers coming in and talking about what they do. So there's just a lot of, there's so many options for other topics to learn about that maybe they're not getting in the classroom. They can go online and find the books that they want to read or something they want to learn about. Maybe it's a hobby of theirs. And by reading books that interest them, not just what they have to for school, that can really promote reading independence, improves their reading skills. The more they do it, the better their comprehension, and developing a lifelong love of reading. It's not just because your teacher said you had to read this book. It can actually be really enjoyable. And that's something that's going to benefit them as they go through their school career, any kind of post-secondary pursuits, when they get out into the working world. They're going to need, books to learn a skill or to take a certification test. Really helps with their proficiency if they can read books of their own choosing. It also saves teachers time. If the student is just on the school account, any of the books that they want to read for school or for pleasure, they have to ask the teacher to assign it to them and for them to read. And even though the assigning books process is not a difficult process, it's still it's something else the teacher has to do. And, there's a wide range of learning styles happening right now. There's, in person, completely virtual, hybrid. But as you all know, the last year has really caused a lot of disruptions for educators and students alike. So anything that just makes it easier for the educators and the students, we think is great, and why we're really making this push to encourage that students be given the individual memberships. And that membership can also follow them through their school and professional career as they advance, from middle school to high school. They still retain their account and can then be linked to their new school account. They go to college, they have their account, they can on their own get the books that they need for their classes. Or if they start, going into some kind of job or vocational training programs, they have their account. When they're no longer a student, it then does convert to the $50 a year. But as long as they're a student in any type of educational setting, vocational adult education, where they're taking a class that they have to pass for credits, that's considered a student, and the membership is free. What I'm going to do now is switch over to the website and show you the two main ways to provide individual memberships to students. Okay, you should now be seeing my website screen. I am logged in as a teacher, or again, what we refer to as a sponsor. And I go to my members roster, my members tab. And here I have a list of my current members. I can see under the membership type, they all just have the organization account. So they are just on the school account. But what I'm going to do is I want to initiate the individual membership. So put a check mark next to the student who I want to give the membership to. Then under this More Actions button at the bottom, Click on Add Individual Membership. So you see I have two options, request a new individual membership. So here I have the student's name and I have the option of either sending an email or downloading a form to give to the parent. Because again, since they're students and if they're under 18, the parent needs to sign off on it. So I would just put in the parent email address, hit submit. The parent then receives an email saying, your student uses Bookshare. You can give them the individual membership. They click on a link in that email. It will take them to a form that already has the student information filled in. And they just check a couple boxes giving permission to Bookshare to add on the individual membership. There's also the form you can download if you're going to be seeing the parent, maybe at a back to school night or a parent teacher meeting. In places that are able to do those kind of meetings still, you could give them that form that has that same information. But the email is really easiest. We do hear sometimes from teachers that the parents never follow through or email goes to the spam or junk filter. So if you have a way to communicate to the parent outside of this email, like just sending it directly to their email from you, you can tell them to be on the lookout for that. So this option 2 is to add the existing additional individual membership. So these are for students that maybe they're a new student or they come into your class and they say, oh, I have my own Bookshare membership. What you can do is you would add them to your school account and then check on their name and go through the same process, more actions, add individual membership, but under this option 2, you would put in the email that they use to log into that and submit the request. That comes to us, our customer service team, and then those accounts are then linked. And again, that offers you the ability to assign, they can still see their assigned books and read all the books of their choosing. So that is the way the educator initiates the individual membership. We also have the option for a parent or student to do that on their own. Of course, a student only if they're over 18. For students that are already on the school account. So I am going to show you that now. Okay, so here I am logged in as my student Bookshare bed. They are just currently on the school account. When they log in, they see the books that have been assigned to them, either just directly assigned or on reading lists. So that's how they see their books. Then under this Learn More section, there's a link, upgrade to an individual membership. Again, so the parent would be assisting or doing this for a student under 18. It tells a little bit about what the individual membership is. There's a sign up button and it will already have the student's information put in there. The parent puts in their information and then the parent then does determine their new username. So when they are just on the school account, they log in with a username that you've assigned to them. But for the individual membership, it has to be an actual real email. So it would either be the student's own email, personal email, or school email, or the parent email. And they set a password and they, again, click on a few boxes that they're the legal guardian or parent, and then the student within a day or so has their individual membership. So that's a really easy way for the parent to do that. And when the pandemic hit and students were no longer in school and suddenly they're at home and the parents aren't really sure, the student has only used Bookshare in school, we wanted to really provide an easy way for parents to do this because as teachers were so swamped and getting used to new virtual learning systems. So it really just depends on if the teacher wants to initiate it or if the parent is motivated and is going to do it, you can let them know these instructions how to do it. And you will receive a copy of the PowerPoint, and I had hyperlinks for each of these demos going to our Help Center pages that has the step-by-step process for how to do that. So you can refer back to that as you, when you get back to your classrooms, or for parents who want to sign up their kids as well. The other option for individual membership is if they're neither a student, they're not on an account, and they're just going to have their own account outside of school. And then that would just be using, oops, trying to share my screen here. It's not working. There we go. They would just sign up on our homepage as any student or adult individual would do that. And so there's the instructions for that there. So I guess this is a good place to stop and answer some questions. Heather, are there any questions that have a lot of people have asked that might be useful for the group to share?
It might be helpful to put some more emphasis on why it's so beneficial specifically to have the linked individual account. A lot of people are asking about what happens when they graduate and they're no longer in school, for example.
Sure, great questions. So the benefits of having both accounts and having them linked is the teacher can still assign books that they want the students to read for class. But the student then also has the option of searching for any book of their choice, whether they want to learn a new hobby or they've learned about a subject in school that interests them and they want to read more books on that topic, but they're not books that the teacher is assigning for school. They can independently go and search for the book or have their parent help them, depending on the age, and read that book. And the more they read, the more they're interested in reading, that's going to really help these students who have been struggling with reading until they've had some kind of accommodation in many cases. They're not reading at grade level. They'll have access to more books and they'll, hopefully, and we hear this all the time, they actually begin to love reading. They get very interested in books. They want to learn more. And again, for students who have struggled for a year, 2 years, or several years before it's identified that they have a reading barrier, this can really help improve some of those gaps that they have missed over the years. So that's the benefit for the student. Also for the teacher, they don't have to assign every book the student wants to read. And they would still assign the books that are required for school. But we hear from teachers, students will say, hey, can you put Harry Potter on my reading list? I want to read about dinosaurs. So it's just, again, more work. The teacher has to search for the book and assign it to the student. So when they have the linked accounts, that's really a great way for the student to have access to all the materials and save the teacher some time. When the student when they graduate or is no longer a student, if they have the individual membership, that membership follows them, providing they're using an email address that they still have access to. Most kids now have their own Gmail or Yahoo or an email address to always have. They can continue to use Bookshare. And kind of like every year after their individual membership is started, they get an email from Bookshare. Are you still a student? Please update your information. If they're a student at another school or they've gone on to a college program, they would update it with that information, the name of the institution they're at, and it would still be free. If they're no longer a student, they would say, I'm no longer a student, and then they have the option of doing the paying subscription, which is $50 a year. So they have that choice of continuing it, and it's, again, $50 for unlimited reading and access to books. So they'll just always have that account as they go through school. If they say they're going to a school in another district or they're going from elementary to middle school, when they go to that new school, they can tell the teacher, hey, I use Bookshare, and can I be added to the account that you use in your school? So again, they can have that continuity of having the teachers being able to assign. In some cases, the teachers at the new school have never heard of Bookshare or don't have an account. They can create one. It's estimated that 5% of students have a reading barrier that prevents them from reading printed text. So chances are there's more than one student who could benefit. Some schools have accounts just for the whole entire school. Some teachers just have their own accounts they use for their students. Sometimes it's by grade level. That's up to the school. But when students have been using it, they can then communicate, or the parents can communicate that to the teacher, that they have this account and can it be linked to the school account? Or if there's not an account, create one. Because currently there's no way, if a student moves from one school to another, unless that teacher communicates with the new school or the new teacher that this student is using Bookshare, the new teacher isn't going to know unless it's in an IEP or 504 plan, which again, many of our students have, but not all of them. So that's kind of, sometimes there is a bit of a drop off there, but if they have the individual membership, they can continue to use Bookshare in the meantime. So that's a great question. I'm just going to take a look here at some of these question and answers and go over them. College textbooks, yes, we do have college textbooks. We have a couple partnerships with university presses across the country, and that enables us to have college textbooks. And students and teachers can request books that the student needs for school, and we do our best to fulfill those requests. So if there's a book a student needs, or you as a teacher want your student to read that's not in our collection, we can acquire that book for them and add it to the collection. Let's see, there's another question. What is the benefit of using Dolphin Easy Reader or CaptiVoice? Those are, Dolphin Easy Reader is a mobile app, and CaptiVoice is also, there's an app and computer base. Those reading tools offer more features than the Bookshare web reader does. A lot more, better quality voices, more visual and audio options for that. So some students find the reading experience better with that. But it is the same. They're just other tools that show the text on the screen and read the text out loud with the highlighting. They have different options for highlighting a word at a time, a sentence at a time, different colors as the paragraph changes, words disappearing once they've been read out loud for students that have tracking. So there are some benefits to that. But what Bookshare offers is our standard Bookshare web reader that does have the audio and the text, but it uses the voices that are built into the computer. So like on PCs, there's a male and a female voice. On Macs, there are more voices, but they do read those. They use those voices unless you have purchased additional higher quality voices. I will, with the caveat there, we are working on upgrading our Bookshare web reader that will have better quality voices and more features. Hopefully, we don't have really an estimate yet, but hopefully before the year is over, we will be able to offer that. So again, with linking the accounts, the students can still see the books that you assign to them and read books on their own. I just saw there was a question with that. So yes, they will still see the books that are assigned to them. Someone asked if Bookshare has books in Spanish. Yes, we have Spanish and many, many other languages. There's not a translation capability, so the book has to be available in that language. Spanish is our second largest language compared to English, so there are quite a large number of books in Spanish. I'm just reading through. Someone is asking that they're a disability service helper at a university and their students have never used an audiobook. Do we have educational videos that explain Bookshare? Yes, we have a wide range of videos and how-to guides, and there's actually links to that on the next slides, and I can show you that as well. Go on to those pages. We have our Help Center, which has articles on frequently asked questions, as well as the Learning Center that contains a bunch of short video tutorials and how-to guides. Someone's asking about the frequency in which new books are added to Bookshare. And if you can request, yes, you can request books. We have different publisher partnerships, and we get, every month we get usually a couple thousand new books that come in. When they come in digitally, they're able to be added to our collection very quickly. If the book's not in the collection, it can be requested. We do our best to get the digital version from the publisher. If we can't get that from the publisher, we will actually purchase the book and chop the spine and scan the pages, proofread it. That does take a lot longer. And when you are scanning the book, you lose the formatting and images. But we will do that if we cannot get it from the publisher. And I think we do a really great job at fulfilling most of the requests to the best of our ability. Someone asked, should we take students out of our organization when they graduate? Or if we put them in, can we just leave them indefinitely? You don't have to. And a lot of times, like, educators just want to kind of clean up the roster. So when you go to that members page, you only see your active students. So you just delete that student when they've been on your school account. Because there's no way to transfer a student from one account to the other. They have to be deleted from the account and then re-added on the other. And that is for when they're an organizational membership. Someone asked, since this is open to all students, do they need to show a receipt of their books to us? Well, first of all, it's not open to all students. It's only students with a visual learning or physical disability that prevents them from interacting with traditional print books. But no, for students who qualify, there's no need to show a receipt of the book. The copyright law makes that clear. Their students with these print disabilities are entitled to get digital versions of text they need for school for free. So no need for that. Okay, we're going to go on. What I would like everyone to do is, now's the time to use the chat box. Thinking about what you've learned today, let us know, what actions do you think you'll take this week to support your students? Are you going to create a new account? Are you going to try giving an individual membership to one of your students? We would love to hear what you plan to do, or if you plan to follow up for more information, that's great too. But let us know in the chat. And I'm going to go and show where all of our help materials can be found. Okay, so I am back on the Bookshare website. You see at the top, there's a Help Center button. And when I go to that, this is where you can search on frequently asked topics. We have one-page articles with some steps and links to videos, like, say, oh, I forgot how to add the individual membership. Add individual membership. And it will take you to a list of the articles that address that. How do I create an individual membership for my student? Here's a quick little video tutorial that shows, what I demonstrated earlier with some step-by-step instructions. So this is really handy if you just you've forgotten how to do something and you want to, find those steps. On the Help Center is a really great tool. It's called a Reading Tools wizard under the Reading Tools icon. And here is where you can see what type of reading tool would be best for your student. And when I say best, it really kind of depends on what device is available to them. If they're using a computer or laptop, we have it then broken down to Windows, Mac, or Chromebook. So say I'm using a Mac computer. We list what is the recommended tool. So on Macs, our Bookshare web reader, and every Mac has the Books app built in, which does, you can download the book from Bookshare into that and have the highlighted text and the voice. If you want to see what's available for whether it's an iPhone or iPad or an Android device, click here. And here we have Dolphin, VoiceStream, and Capti. And when you click on the icons for each of these, it takes you to a page that has more information about that app. And these are all third-party apps. We don't, they're not ones that we've developed. So we provide just the information on how to use it. They integrate with Bookshare, but then you do have the option to go to their website to learn more. So we show you how to install it, how to use it, and so forth for the different apps and the price if there's any. So the Reading Tool Wizard is a great way to determine, you get Bookshare for your student and you're gonna then, how do they read? And that does depend on what tools they have access to, which for students that are only learning at home, that might be very different than what they had access to in the school. Bookshare also integrates with a variety of specialized AT devices, the Braille note takers, the different DAISY audio players, AAC devices, the Dynavox. It integrates with those. And by integrating, I mean they can access the Bookshare books directly through the device. It plugs into that, so students can go onto the Braille note taker and access their assigned books through that. So the Reading Tool Wizard, which under the Help Center, is a really great tool. We also have the Learning Center, which you can get to just from the side of the Help Center. We have these different areas, some suggestions for educators and parents about learning at home during COVID. Educators who are just getting started can go to the Sign Up and Getting Started area. There's video about getting started. There's a whole how-to guide with step-by-step instructions and screenshots of how to sign up your school and add members, find the books, assign the books, some shortcut guides, all the information you would want. For individuals who are not students, say like an adult member, we have some resources for them as well. So under how to read the books, there's a bunch of guides and videos. And so when it has the little video icon, that means it's a video. The PDF, it's a PDF, and Word documents for the step-by-step guides. So we try to provide a lot of information on the web. From the Learning Center homepage, we also have this how-to videos and guides page, which is very busy, but it's just we wanted to have everything in one place. So Bookshare at a glance, what is it? There's a flyer if you want to download and give out the information to your colleagues. And here, all the different guides for signing up, adding your students, the videos, the guides, get individual memberships. There's the video and the guides. So if you're stuck on doing anything, you can go to this page to look for that. Also under the Help Center at the bottom is our phone number. You can call our great customer service team. We answer the phones Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Pacific time. You can call and ask a question, or there's also a link to email your question, and they do get to them pretty quickly. And that's for any tech support questions. You're using a specific device and having trouble, or a question about your account. I think the most frequently asked question is, how do I reset my password? So any issue you run into, you can call us or email us about that. We also have a community where our users, it's kind of like a old-fashioned, the message boards, forums, where you can go and look for questions that other people might have asked, or if you have a question you want to pose to other educators, how they've integrated Bookshare in the classroom, or if they're having difficulty with anything, you can go here and ask a question, and either another user will answer you or a member from our support team. So I guess at this point, we still have some time. I'll go back to some of the questions, and I'm going to kind of try to skim and see if there's questions that a lot of people have asked today or in the past. Does Bookshare merge with Google Classroom? No, at this point it doesn't. In hindsight, something we wish it did, because so many schools that went virtual are using Google Classroom. But at this time, no, it doesn't. Let's see. And we will answer your questions after the webinar too. So if we don't, either if Heather doesn't type you the answer back, or if we don't do it vocally, should be able to still do that afterwards. Oh, and a great question. As a sponsor, am I able to view books in the same way they're presented to students? No, unfortunately, because of the copyright law, only the person with the disability is able to view the books. We know that many times educators want to review a book before they assign it to the student. What we suggest is you can log in as the student, and you as the educator, you've set up their username and password when they're on the school account. So you can log in as them to be able to preview the book. So that's kind of the workaround for that. Someone asked, is it easy for students to download a book? That's a great question, because I know I've addressed using Bookshare Reader, web reader, or the mobile devices. I'm going to go back to my share screen where I am logged in as the student and show you about that. So here I am logged in as a student, and on their homepage, they see their books that have been assigned to them by their teacher. And as I mentioned, the easiest way is for them to read it in the browser. So they would just select the Read Now button, and the book takes a minute or two. And of course, it always takes much longer over Zoom. Okay, the book has now just opened in the browser. You're not downloading anything. It's all in the cloud. Under the settings icon, this is where they can change the font size. We offer the Open Dyslexic font and then just a basic font. They can make the speech slower or faster, and then they choose their voice. So here I'm on a PC, so I have Microsoft David and Zira, and then I've added a voice that Google provides for free. So I'd select my settings. You see the font just changed. I can go to the chapter I want, and then you just hit this speaker button and it will start reading. And let's see, I hope it will share my sound.
Chapter 1. One day, Buzz and Fly Guy went outside. 3. Let's play hide and seek, said Buzz.
So that is the basic Bookshare reader, web reader that just opens in the browser. Now the books can be downloaded in the variety of formats that I mentioned. So the student's on their page, and there's this drop-down box where it shows the different formats the book's available. Audio, which it downloads is just like an MP3 file, the Braille file, EPUB, which is just another digital type of file, or the Word document. So say the student just wants to listen to it in the audio format, they would select audio and download. It shows that this is in progress, and it will download the file to, usually like on a PC, there's the downloads folder. I think on Mac it's called My Documents, but wherever their computer is set up to get for downloads to go, that's where it goes. Again, of course, everything takes longer when it's over Zoom, but the status, it will show in progress while it's downloading, and when it's available, it will show available. So it's pretty easy for students to do that. If they are using, say, like the refreshable Braille display, a lot of those connect to their, like a computer via a USB. Same thing, they download it and then transfer it over to their Braille device. Some of the Braille devices, I believe they don't even have to do that. They can just through the device have the book downloaded onto that. And again, if you have specific questions about those type devices, it's best to contact our customer support team, because we have tech support people who they themselves use these devices and can help walk you through it and provide great tips on that. So again, of course, it never takes this long to download, but it seems to be really slow over Zoom. So again, they have the option of reading it now or downloading the file. Now, if they are using a mobile device, what they would do, they'd log into their account on the website and see the books that are assigned to them. And then each device is different, but kind of universally, they would open the device on their iPhone or iPad or tablet. They'd open the app and then search for, just search for the book for, through the titles. Now and again, students who are on the organizational account can only access the books that they've been assigned to. So they go into their, if they're using Dolphin Easy Reader and search for Harry Potter, well, if Harry Potter hasn't been assigned to them, it will say, unavailable. But if they search for a book that has been assigned, they see the little download icon, and then that book just opens directly in the phone. So again, there's no need to actually physically download a book unless you're wanting it in one of these formats, the audio, the BRF, EPUB, or Word. So I hope that answers that question. Great. Someone asked about textbooks available to students if they have an individual membership. Textbooks are available to students. I mentioned before about the IEP and 504 not being required, but for a subset of our textbooks, the books that are only in the National Instructional Materials Access Center, the NIMAC repository, those are only available to students with IEPs. The NIMAC operates under special education law, and they have a digital copy of every textbook available. And for students with IEPs, they have access to those textbooks. And if we don't have it in our collection, we can get it directly through the NIMAC. So again, it's just one of those little legal issues that unfortunately the law, we hope that the publishers, want to give us their textbooks to provide it to these students. By law, they're supposed to make digital versions available to them in the formats that are accessible to them. But, and it's gotten better over the years, but we're not always able to get the digital versions of every textbook. But again, that has changed over the last couple of years. They've been more willing to give us those files. But like I mentioned, if there's a textbook that a student needs and we can't get it digitally, we do purchase the book and chop it and scan it and upload it into our system. So for students who do have access to those NIMAC books, if they have an IEP, they are not able to get them on their own with an individual membership, so that they would need the teacher to assign them. So it'd be great to have them linked to the organizational account. So having those two account links really is kind of the best of both worlds for teachers and students to get them the books they need plus the books they want to read. Someone asked, they have a student who wants to study for the GED, and how well are math problems, pictures, as well as tables, charts, and graphs transcribed for students? That is another great question. Another project that our company works on called Bookshare is working to make math accessible, because math texts have not always been accessible for students. They're using screen readers or have trouble viewing it on the page. I believe we have a goal to get the majority of our math textbooks in our collection utilizing the coding that allows all the tables and graphs to be accessible. And it has a whole host of other features that work for math. We currently, a large section of our books do have the images. Some have the audio image descriptions, but not all of them. Again, that's something we're working on to get all of them have them. So I would say it just depends on the book, the GED book that we have, and we have lots of different ones. So if there's one that you're not happy with the way the charts and graphs are presented, you can look up different ones and hopefully find something better. Someone asked again about how to direct students to informational videos on Bookshare. That's under the helps. Go to the help tab at the top of the page and then the Learning Center. And in the presentation, copy of the presentation you'll get, I do have links to the Help Center and the Learning Center and the page that has all the guides and videos. So you will be receiving that in a few days, as well as the recording if you want to review some of the demos as well. People are asking about the voices, and is it always a digitized voice? Yes, the audio versions, every book, when it's read out loud, it does use the synthesized text-to-speech. It is very, very timely to get human narrated books. It can take, months and months. So the text-to-speech, the automated text-to-speech enables us to have a much larger collection than some of the other human narrated audiobook libraries. We understand some people say they prefer the human sounding voice. It'd be great if we could have that, but we have 950,000 titles in our collection, and the synthesized, the text-to-speech, it kind of happens immediately on the back end. So that does enable us to have more titles. And we're finding that with people using Siri and Alexa and Google Home, we're getting more used to the computer voices. They don't sound quite as, as digital as they used to sound. And as I mentioned, as we make our updates to Bookshare web reader, we'll have some higher quality voices. There's products called Read and Write for Google and Snap and Read. Those are made by other organizations. They're Chrome extensions, and they do work with our Bookshare web reader. It kind of adds a toolbar overlay on top of the page, and they provide more features and some better voices. So we've had people that find once they use those, it is a better sounding voice. Many districts have licenses with either, I think Don Johnston is the one that they produce Snap and Read, and Text Help does the Read and Write. So you can check with if your district has licenses for those. At the beginning of the pandemic, they made them available for free for educators. I don't know if that was a time limited thing, but it might be worthwhile to check as well, because and just having those tools makes any content on a website accessible. So it's just another tool, whether using with Bookshare or without. And again, there was another question about an idea of what to see, what the student sees. Yes, you would have to log in as a student to be able to preview the book. There's a question about homeschooling. Yes, we do have members who are homeschools. The parent would sign them up for that, and yes, they would have access to textbooks as well. But for homeschooling, and there are some districts that homeschoolers can get Bookshare through a school or a district account. It depends on the district. They make that resource available to parents who do homeschool their kids. So again, depends on the district. All right, we're just a few minutes left. If there's, looking through the questions, again, yes, we have books in Spanish and many other languages. What I can do is show you one thing we didn't go over here is how to actually find the books. So on our site, on every page, there's this search bar at the top, advanced search and browse. The search bar at the top, I can put in here, I put in GED. This is just a general search. It searches titles and synopsis. So here you'll see a list of books that are related to the GED. You can see there's quite a lot. The advanced search allows you to do a more focused search. Title, whether it's the word in a title, books from a certain author, a publisher, word that might be in the full text or synopsis. If you're definitely looking for a book that has images, you would check contains images. Here is all the languages that the books are can be found in if you want to search for books for a certain language. Grade level, not every book is labeled with a grade level, so that might not get all the books for that grade level, but can give you an idea. And we include, college, postgraduate, and so forth. Or maybe books by a certain category. You want books on animals, and you're looking for, kindergarten. So a very simple book on animals with pictures. Set your parameters. And here's a list of books that fit those criteria. Also, the browse feature is our special collections that Bookshare puts together. We have the New York Times children's bestsellers, New York Times fiction, nonfiction, and these get updated every time the New York Times updates their list. New books, we have books listed by the different Lexile levels. If you use Lexile levels and you know your student is reading at a certain level, there's the books that fall into that category. Also, other leveled readers, the Fontes and Pinnell. We have accelerated readers, scholastic guided reading for schools that use those curriculum. Click on that and see all the books that are in that category. So if you're just looking and trying to get an idea for books to assign to a student, maybe outside of the required reading, the browse page is great to come to, by teens, the award winners, categories. We update these popular series, high interest books for young readers, teens, the teachers, adults. So it's just another way to find books. I mentioned we have the driver's manuals, handbooks and guides for every state, career resources. So a really wide range of book titles for students as they go through their educational career and beyond. So I think that kind of covers everything. Again, this was not a whole entire Bookshare in-depth webinar. We do have, under the Help Center on the Learning Center, we have a Bookshare webinar section. And we have Bookshare 101, how to get started with Bookshare. This is something we've done in the past, but you can watch the video online, and it really goes into the whole, how do you sign up for an account? How do you add students? How do you assign the books? And then again, how the students read. So if you're very new to Bookshare and you really want to get more of an overview of things that weren't covered here, I would recommend you can watch that video. And then we list upcoming webinars. Tomorrow, January 27th, we periodically do webinars with the Reading Tool partners. So we're doing one Bookshare and Easy Reader, Dolphin Easy Reader. So that will be, again, the first part is a general overview about Bookshare, and then a demo of the Easy Reader app and how you find the books and how you read the books and all the different features. So that's another great one. Dolphin Easy Reader is a free app that has a lot of great features. Our members love it. So if you're curious about that, I encourage you to register for that. That will be at 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, I thank everyone for joining. We're just about at noon. You will be receiving a copy of the webinar recording, with the visuals and the audio. It will be captioned for those of you. I'm sorry we don't have the closed caption enabled for the webinar today. You will receive a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that has links to the various resources on the site. It also has my email and phone number. You're welcome to contact me directly with any questions or contact our customer support specialists. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.